Well, good afternoon. We are going to look at Tulsi Gabbard's horoscope today and see if we can rectify it based on, I don't know, character traits, I guess. But as I speak, however, and this might be subject for further study, a fire truck, and now two fire trucks showed up on the side of my house. So I thought, well, I better, before I start this video, I better see if my house is on fire. And apparently it's the people across the street. Apparently the landlord is going to sell his house to the insurance company. Well, we'll see. But if we do a horary for right now, which is 1:45, so that would have been maybe 1:40 p.m. in Alliance, Ohio. We're looking at some sort of a false alarm. Now, this may have something to do with Tulsi Gabbard as well. And, in astrology, we make obscure connections. And sometimes they're so obscure as to be undecipherable. But anyway, we're looking right now. Tulsi Gabbard was born April 12th, 1981, in the Samoan Islands. Now that was a challenge. I mean, there's other people have her horoscope drawn, and quite a few of them were wrong. But there's so when you look at other interpretations, I think this one's right, but first of all, you got to watch out for, some people call her a Pisces with a Cancer moon. Now that's sidereal astrology, which the Hindus do, and that's fine. Constellational astrology, but the signs have shifted about one sign since in the last 2,000 years, since they started using tropical astrology. So the Aries point is different. And I use tropical astrology based on the idea that you start where the vernal equinox falls over. And that would make her an Aries with a Leo moon. Now, in very obscure ways, I have a sister with Aries with a Leo moon. So I says, oh, well, I wonder what she has in common with my sister Virginia, who is much older, by the way. But Aries with a Leo moon. Says, oh, that should be fun. And then the other question is, how do you calculate a horoscope whose latitude is, I don't know, maybe 20 south, and longitude is west, and what time zone? And so we Googled, because we're going to start with the assumption that somebody guessed that her time of birth was 2 p.m. So if you calculate a chart, you get 2 p.m. better be somewhere in the 9th or 10th house, up above the horizon. If you write 2 p.m. and you've got calculations for, and your calculations for Samoa, somehow it turns out the sun is below the horizon, then that's wrong. And I did that. My astrology software, if you don't fill it out right, that did that. So so there's going to be a lot of wrong charts on Tulsi Gabbard because people aren't used to, and, and most people use computerized astrology software now, which is fine, but you still got to get the parameters right. And so after, I think I've got the parameters right. This is using astrologer software. Then now you start looking at, well, what aspects seem to be pretty strong. Now, one thing that strikes me right away is the sun is almost exactly opposite Pluto. Now that makes for, a great dictator, an extremely powerful politician. Sun opposite Pluto, but it's only 2 minutes of arc off of exact. So I said, well, what happens if I would put it exact? And so you adjust the time until the Pluto is exactly opposite the sun. Well, that's one factor that might be working. That would seem. Now, see, not everything can be exact, but on somebody that's going to be president of the United States, a lot of things better be exact. Interesting, in constellational astrology, one person had Tulsi Gabbard's sun at 2959. Her sun, 2959 of Pisces. That was a constellational sidereal astrology. But that 2959 is very interesting because Trump has his ascendant, tropical and so on, at 2959 of Leo. But 2959 is that point where it's just going to flip into something else. Okay? Just as the world enters, the age of Aquarius, if one wanted to get poetic, say, well, that's when Tulsi Gabbard becomes president, and so on. Yesterday, I did a horror on Trump's peace plan between Iran and Israel, and I haven't. And I happened to mention that Tulsi Gabbard will be president, and I didn't really say why. I thought so. Other than there was a moon in a Lilith somewhere that I thought, well, that's. And, she's been in the news lately because she said that the Iranians had no bomb. Oh, and we're working on one. And Trump criticized her for that and poo-pooed her for that. And then a lot of commentators who have nothing else to do. But, I said, oh, she should quit. She should resign. She's been insulted in her integrity. And she didn't quit, by the way. She didn't go down to the flames standing on principle. She kind of backtracked or sidled off at that point. And, I don't think she meant it, but, she's faced with a clear choice. Well, what do I keep my honor or keep my job and live to fight another day? So, these are all character traits which manifest, and that can help us to rectify her chart, to find out if the chart is really her. Okay. Another thing that's very interesting about her chart is you have the Sun conjunct Mars conjunct Venus. And I was tempted, and you see, I have Mars in the ninth house, but I attempted to put it in the 10th house because she is, after all, a soldier. She's been military from day one, so that would put Mars in the 10th house, a soldier. Now, if you put it, what happened here is I shifted the Sun for different reasons back. Well, I I actually tried the idea of 24 Cancer rising, and that was purely subjective because that's my Mercury, and that was it just made a Mercury return. My chart just made a Mercury return. So I says, well, what if we set her to 24? And that pushed her Mars back into the ninth house. So that would suggest that she's not, so much a military. She's military, but that takes a lot of it. It puts her in the ninth house, which is not the glory of the 10th house. In other words, people will not be saluting her. So then, what happens? Well, okay, she's a foreigner from far away. And, that would be one perception. First of all, racially, she's 3/4 white, 1/4 Samoan, which would be Asiatic. Second of all, she's chosen Hindu as her religion, which she chose, rather than the Catholic that her mother was. So, there's a certain amount of exotic strangeness about her, I suppose you'd say, which would push that stuff into the ninth house. See, now another thing appears, and this is what I finally adjusted for. You see at the cusp of the sixth house, which is one's work, you see a glyph of Neptune, and then you see another glyph of what looks like a waning moon, Hades. Well, that is actually in the symbolism that I use. I use that for the dark moon Lilith, or Waldemath. So that's Waldemath, or if you want to look that up, which Ivy Goldstein Jacobson used Waldemath quite a bit. So that's Waldemath conjunct Neptune. Well, it don't get no more sneakier than that. Okay, Waldemath conjunct Neptune, and so that's a sneaky spy, and an informer, and a snitch. All these things don't sound too good, right? And you put it at work, and what is she now? Right now, as of the time we speak, at the age of 45, she is the Director of Military Intelligence for the United States of America. Now, military intelligence would be a lot to do with sneaks and snitches and deception. And that's her place of work. Now, if one would go through her biography, and we find out maybe that she rose through her career not sleeping with the generals, but informing on the generals, or informing on people, that's a snitch, right? Maybe that's how she made her career. So that's, I don't know, disturbing if she's your girlfriend, maybe, but say, well, she's got what it takes to be in military intelligence. So that becomes an issue too. So that's the Waldemath conjunct Neptune on the sixth house cusp. Now, whatever cusp you put it on this day of birth, it's going to be conjunct somewhere. But if you want to tune it into the exact minute and second, that's what we're doing here. Now, I'm going to Tulsi Mars midheaven. Now look at this chart a little closer. 26 Sagittarius 46. That's a nice sign, by the way. Foreign intelligence, huh? And Neptune, oh yeah, 24 Sag 46. I thought I tuned that in exactly, but I didn't. Those are 2 degrees off on the 6th house cusp. But in Sagittarius, you can say, well, and we all know this. See, we're going from known facts and surmise, trying to back the chart up to where we get an accurate chart, an accurate ascendant, let's say. And then if we get an accurate ascendant in the future, as we look at transits and directions and, whatever things you do to try to predict the future, you say, hey, we've got a good chart. It's been rectified. Well, this is just rectification on the basis of personality traits. And in a way, my videos, I'm more of a teacher. Trying to explain, well, how did you come up with this using these obscure symbols? So if you look at my videos, I do tarot cards, which is a whole different thing than astrology, and I do mahjong tiles. But again, I'm trying to show you how to take symbolism and combine it, and then make judgment as to what's right and wrong. And I've predicted a lot of people to be president of the United States wrongly, and but I move right along because I'm learning to predict. I've been at it for over 50 years, and I still enjoy it. Do I get it right? No, Should you come to me? Well, no, I'm not. I'm not actually in business, but there's some good astrologers out there. If you look hard enough. Right. So there's another thing here. We have. All this in the 9th house. So the 9th house is, she's a foreigner. She does foreign intelligence because Sagittarius, the Waldemath and the Neptune being in Sagittarius would point you to the 9th house because that's the 9th sign. So if you look at the 9th house, and then you also, by the way, then there's also kind of a trine. No, could it be a trine? Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. Sun, Venus, Mars in their 22, 24, and 20. All right, so let's say an average of 22. And Waldemath and Neptune are in 25, 26 and 24. So it's a 2 or 3 degree trine. Which ain't bad. I don't think you can go to the horse races with aspects like that, but as general, for character description, maybe so. But anyway, so that's one of the issues here is that, okay, she has all this authority and glamour and so on, but it's in the 9th house. So, strange visitor from another planet, like they used to say about Superman. Strange visitor from another planet. Now, let's look at the moon. Moon 11 Leo 32. Let's look at Lilith in the 4th house. That's 11 Scorpio 48. So that's practically an exact square between the moon and Lilith. Lilith reads pretty much the same as Waldemath, based on my knowledge at the current time. I guess this brings me to the theme of betrayal, which is horrible word. Reminds you of Judas Iscariot. Betrayal. I would say this woman has been betrayed many times by other women, and she's not past betraying someone herself being the betrayer. So putting it which I think is funny, and you might not think it's funny, but Jesus and Judas Iscariot at the same time. But it's the woman. The betrayal is so feminine that I would tend to think it's the woman that's, that she's betraying and that's betraying her. Now, if I find it, okay, we'll maybe come back to that. Notice we have a finger of God configuration between the midheaven, as we're guessing it is. We're guessing the midheavens in 2 of Taurus. And we have Jupiter and Saturn at 3 and 5 of Libra, making it a 150 in conjunct. We have Uranus in 29, so that's making it 150 by 3 degrees, but it's also between different signs. So it's not as exact, but when you have something that's from the previous sign, in other words, 12th house of the sign that would make it exact, you also get something hidden and sinister. So the very and also we have Uranus in the 29th degree of Scorpio. Now that's going to take, from the time she's born in 1981, that's going to take, some months before it would actually move into the next sign. But when something's in the 29th degree, that's the ultimate, right? Now, if you say something's in the 28th degree, that's the penultimate. Pene meaning in Latin almost ultimate, but not the last. It's not the last gate. But here Uranus in 29, that's in the last gate of Scorpio, 29. Now that's interesting because Trump's ascendant is in 29 of Leo. In fact, 2959. So like Trump is the president at the time of the end of the world, let's say, and she is making from Leo to Scorpio. She's making a square for the planet Uranus. Sudden events. Now, her Uranus here is on the cusp of the 5th, so sudden speculative events or sudden play events. Fifth house being play, speculation, gambling. It's also love affairs, because love affairs are considered to be highly speculative. You don't know if it's going to work out or not. But so Uranus in just about to enter Sagittarius, the unexpected, just about to enter Sagittarius, the ninth house. There you have another ninth house, ninth sign, ninth house connection. But that being square to Trump, so the relationship to Trump between one's ascendant in Leo, was Trump, Leo ascendant, he takes himself very seriously, in case you didn't know. And this Tulsi could crack that image. Anybody that takes himself that seriously is could be cracked. And this Uranus could, as a matter of a put down, crack his fragile image or his fragile self-image. Don't know. Has she ever said any? But I think she could come up with a one-line zinger that could end his presidency, boing, like that. She's not running against him right now. Of course, she's had a. I haven't studied her biography too much because I'm trying to come up with a few original ideas. But eventually, I will. But I noticed that she was a Democrat at one time. She, elected at a very young age in political life, age of 20, 21. So I forget where that goes. Okay, but Moon square Lilith, the actual Lilith. That Lilith is in Scorpio. Lily, 1138. Notice a lot of Scorpio stuff here. Again, Scorpio is probably the sneakiest sign. Why that would be, that's a whole subject of a whole talk that I haven't thought out. But the water signs are full of deception. But Scorpio is one kind of a deception. I know that Pisces kind of deception is another water sign, and if you can imagine a Pisces type of deception, if you can imagine 100 drones coming to bomb your country. Now, why do I use that? Well, that's in the news now. Lots of drones. But you put in 70 of those drones are fake. So you have to use. You don't know that until you blow them up, and then there's a bang. So I says, "Oops, we got a fake there." But the reason the person sends out so many fake drones is it uses up the enemy's defensive missiles and guns, and then you're playing a numbers game. So you hope that if you send up 70, that they'll shoot those down, and yours might get through. The one that has the actual bomb on it might get through. But that's an overwhelming swarm. That's what Pisces will do. Pisces creates a lot of false clues, and you go chase this one, and you find there's nothing there. It was just an illusion. That's a Pisces defense. Now, a Cancer defense is you hide. You hide under the bed. That's a Cancer defense. Or you hide. You surround yourself with. You hide in the basement. You hide in the inside of a mountain. You hide inside a jar, because Cancer is the principle of a bowl. You put something in the bowl. You put the lid on it. That's how Cancer defends itself, hiding in a Cancer. Therefore, Cancer rules the home. See, the home has four walls and a roof, where that keeps other things out at night when you're trying to sleep. Scorpio is neither Pisces nor Cancer. I never heard this, but I'm going to venture to say maybe one way of approaching a Scorpio defense is a good offense is the best defense thing. So, you think about J. Edgar Hoover. In other words, you try to get information on other people, get the dirt on your enemy, and then you let him know you have it. And then if he's going to spread the dirt on you, you could always threaten, well, you might spread the dirt on him. So I'm going to venture to say that's a Scorpio type of defense. Well, all right, so that's a segue. Okay, that's for now. That's all I have to say about Tulsi Gabbard, the next president of the United States. Well, that was an unpaid for solicitation there, but really we haven't. Looking at this chart, we haven't exactly found out why she would be president. Although the sun is near the midheaven, that puts you in the public light. And then there's this aspect of sneakiness and spying with the sixth house, which is the means of getting there. In other words, like I said before, you don't sleep with the boss, you snitch on him, or you snitch on somebody else. So that's not somebody you marry, but that's somebody you work with, maybe. And I'm sure there's many other interesting things which we will perhaps find in subsequent videos. Thank you. This is Bill Kennick, Uranian astrologer, trying to rectify the Tulsi Gabbard horoscope. And it is 2:17 p.m. Wednesday, June 25th of the year 2025. So there's no presidential election yet, but Gabbard is definitely in the news. Okay, bye.